Okay, my friends, welcome to the live Q&A session. Now, I'm going to answer a certain number of questions that I've been getting from you guys throughout the week, and then I will answer whatever kind of questions pop up during the live chat. But let me know if you can't hear this, okay? Because this is not where I usually place the microphone, so hopefully you can hear it. But all right, in this episode, we're going to cover fall garden planting. Now, even though the very next video I make is going to be about the fall garden planting, that's still a couple of days away. So I want to say a few things about planting the fall garden. Also, I'm going to cover using seawater. Can you use seawater in the ferments? And if so, how much? Hello, Reed. Good to see you here. Hi from Vermont, huh? Also, types of storage containers. What can I store these ferments in? What's best to store them in? Then also preparing the beds for next year. Even though I'll make multiple videos about this come fall time, it's good to make it. You can start it now. All right, so I will cover a little bit of that. Also, leaf mold. I'm going to address the leaf mold just a little bit. What can I do if I can't find it, or how to make it, even though I will be making a video on this. And also, one I just got from someone, which is a very good question, is contaminated soil. What do I do if I got contaminated soil? So we're going to cover all these topics today, and also whatever else you guys put in. So again, with the chat, just ask the question, and if it doesn't get answered in a reasonable amount of time, just ask it again, no problem. All right. Water with cucumber and mint. Where would you get leaf mold in Arizona? Okay, Faith. So I will answer that one first then, because that was on the list. Now, we have to understand the purpose of what we're doing with the leaf mold. All right. The leaf mold is here because we are trying to essentially extract the wisdom of the forest and place that, disperse it throughout the garden. We're going to the forest and going to the biggest, oldest tree and going to the base of the tree and acquiring those microorganisms that are well adapted to our area, and we are going to then culture them. We're going to amplify them, multiply them billions and billions of times over with the microbial solution, which I've made videos with, all of the fertilizers, and then we're going to disperse those perfectly adapted microorganisms to our garden that will then create a similar native environment as the forest. So it's very, very beneficial to do it exactly this way. Go to the oldest forest and do it the way that I described. Now, if you can't do that, if you're in Arizona or if you're in some place, whatever circumstance, and you don't have big old forests like that, you can make your own. Okay, so here's how you do it. You have to go around and collect multiple samples of wild grasses, wild plants. So hopefully there's some things growing. I mean, there has to be something growing where you're at. So collect from multiple different places. Take a drive into the countryside and collect a handful here, a handful there, a few there, so that you've got a collection of as wide of diversity of plant matter as possible. And then you will take that back to your home or wherever and place it directly on the ground, on the bare open ground, in some place where it's not going to be disturbed. Place the whole pile directly on the ground. Only about this thick is all this thick you need it, and as wide as you want. Then cover that, okay? So you keep it covered with some kind of tarp or something like that. Then after about 2 to 3 weeks, you will see that it has begun where the plant matter contacts the soil. You will see that it has begun to form a fungal relationship. The microorganisms have begun to break down all of this stuff, and it's culturing the native microorganisms, okay? So once you see the breakdown happening, you'll see the decomposition. You'll also see the strands of fungal hyphae. Yeah, that's the mycelium of the fungus, the fungi. You can use that, all right? That is as close to the leaf mold as you can get. That's the indigenous microorganisms that you're going to gather from your area, and they were on all the different places. That's why you want to get as many different samples as you can, okay? And that is going to give you those microorganisms. You can then use that to inoculate the JADAM microbial solution, the potato microbial solution brew. Use it to inoculate that, because that's going to take those same microorganisms and amplify them millions of times so that there's billions and billions of them in the solution, and then apply that to the garden. That's the best way to do it. And that's going to heal the soil. That's going to really help. All right, so that's what you do if you don't have the leaf mold. And if all else fails, if you can't even do that, you can use, hello Trish, you can use a compost, finished compost, okay? But go to the bottom of the compost bin and where it contacts the earth and get that compost as finished as possible. You can use that as well. That will have similar properties, but remember, we want the wisdom of the forest, and that's where we want to go for this, all right? So I will cross off the leaf mold thing. I made the lactic acid. When I went to strain it, I accidentally dumped the cheese in. I strained it through a cheesecloth, but half of the mixture is milky looking. Yes, that happens. That's why, you're welcome, Faith. Yes, that happens. This guy says that he went to strain off the lactic acid solution and it broke apart and it became really cloudy. That happens. You know, one way, if it breaks apart, strain it through like a t-shirt or like a double layer of t-shirt. That's fine. I mean, that's how it gets it like the finest. If you're going to put it through fine drip emitters, or if you, like in a greenhouse, for example, if you have spray emitters through the greenhouse, then you want to filter it really fine. All right. But otherwise, it's not really that big of a deal. Just through like a backpack sprayer, it doesn't matter if some of that stuff gets in there. Yeah, it's okay to use. Is it okay to use? Yes. Yes, it's okay to use. I appreciate you too, unpopular truth. Thank you. Yes, it's okay to use like that, but because it's different every time, you know. So sometimes when you make the curd will separate thick up top and there'll be a real clear distinction. But sometimes, and I don't yet know, even though I've made dozens and dozens of batches over the years, I still don't know what causes this, but sometimes it will not separate like that. Sometimes it will separate to the bottom, or there will be like 3 layers. And I'm not sure exactly what causes that, but it doesn't matter because the liquid is what we need. So we extract the serum. So you use it all the same. Now, you go to smell the liquid, it should smell like that cheese kind of smell. It should not smell like rotten garbage. Okay, if it smells like rotten garbage, it's gone bad. So smell it. It should still smell somewhat inviting. All right. And let's see. Any recommendations, Nate? Any recommendations for a good food dehydrator? Oh yeah, I definitely got a couple of good recommendations. I will put you the links. Maybe I'll try and put the links in the comments of this video after it's over. I will put the links to the ones that I myself have and that I recommend that people can get, just because I've used them and I know that they're really good. And very economically priced. Man, you can spend a lot on a dehydrator, but if you're just getting going, it's not necessary to spend all that much or to have all these different functions and stuff. Okay, so I like to keep it simple. Excalibur, yes, Excalibur is a good one. Definitely. Nesco has decent one. Yes, both of those are decent. Absolutely. Of course, I'll put the links in the description, and that's just because I'm part of the affiliate program, but you can just look at it and then know which ones to get. I mean, it doesn't matter to me if you use the link or not. I appreciate it if you do, but because, you know, we get like a small little kickback. You know, when everyone says the links are in the description, the Amazon affiliate programs, like it gives you like some tiny little percentage, so it all adds up. And then at the end of the month, they just send me a little gift card into my Amazon account. So it's like, well, yeah, because I like Amazon because it takes care of all there's so much scams out there now and there's so much stuff that you just can't trust, but Amazon's pretty legit. Okay, so let's see here. Now, can I use the seawater? It's an easy way to support our favorite channels. That's very true. Yes, yes. I find people are liking to support the thing. I like to support channels that I feel like I gain something, some kind of value added to my life. You know, I want to add value to their life. So can I use seawater in the ferments? Yes, you can use seawater in the ferments. The thing with seawater is it's actually the best. If you, in the JADAM microbial solution, it's actually the best to use seawater. And in the ferments, it's the best to use a little bit of seawater, because seawater has got not only the 82 minerals from the sea salts and everything, all of which are required for plant growth and human growth, but it also has a huge diversity of microorganisms, fresh seawater. So yes, definitely you can use it. But what's up, my friend, Corey? Yeah, definitely you can use it, but you want to dilute it 50 times or more. Remember that, okay? When I first started using it, I got overzealous because I was living in California by the ocean and stuff in the redwoods, and this is where I learned all this stuff many years ago. And I was really overzealous. Well, if seawater's got all the minerals, then the more the better. But it's not that way, because the good and the bad are opposite ends of the same thing. They're one. So too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing. So I killed many plants by adding too much seawater and sea salt. But that's how I found out the right solution, the right ratios. 50 times or more. So to a 5-gallon bucket, add 1 cup of fresh seawater. And that's going to give you all the good stuff you need. Okay? Marin says, can I replace the fish for other meats? You can, yes. That's actually a question I've gotten a lot. You can digest anything this way. I mean anything. So some things will just take a lot longer than others. So the fish is a type of protein that breaks down really easily. And it's in a simpler form than the tough muscle of the meat and the organs and all of this other stuff. And fish are already of the water, and they carry the proper microorganisms within them. Now, that being said, I have used meat before. When I was living in the mountains in California, I would pick up roadkill occasionally, and I would do 2 things with it. 3 things. I would either bury it and then plant on top of it. That's really the best way I've found, because the lack of smell, it's just the best way. And whatever you plant on top of it thrives. Then another way is that I would hang it over, we had like a pond, and there was a swinging rope sometimes. And so I would hang it over that for a couple of days, and the maggots would drop off into the water, and it would feed the trout in the lake. They were eating then you could throw and cast in and catch them right there. Then the other way is to put them in the barrel, of course, but that takes a long time. All right. Digesting the meat can take longer, but yes, it will work. Pretty much just as good. I always bury fish. I plant the fish by my crops, and I feel like it works so good. It absolutely does. Yeah. And that's the way that it's been used for, thousands of years in agriculture. But this way, digesting it into a liquid form allows us to spread those proteins over such a bigger area. And it allows us to feed the plants when we don't have fish. It allows us to store it all the way around. Hey, thank you. $5 from my friend McNaz96. I also made the egg vinegar solution. If it hasn't sat for long enough, will the vinegar kill my plants? If it hasn't sat for long enough, will the vinegar kill my plants? No. What do you mean if it hasn't sat for long enough? If the reaction has stopped, if there's no more bubbles, then that means it's fully saturated, because the bubbles are a sign of the reaction. The carbon dioxide is a byproduct of the conversion of the calcium carbonate to the calcium acetate. And so if the bubbles have stopped, the reaction's pretty much over. Stir it around real good and then taste it, okay? It should taste not like a strong apple cider vinegar. It's neutralized. It's become neutralized. Think that's what Tums are. Marin 2012, $5. Thank you, my friend. What's that, a fox? Haha. Yes, so think like a neutralization of the acids in the stomach. When you take an antacid, it's sort of the similar thing. It's a calcium type form of calcium that neutralizes the acid. So that's basically what we're doing. No, it will not kill the plants. Even if you use just straight up vinegar at the proper dilution, 1 teaspoon a gallon, you won't kill the plants. So no, it won't harm them. But try to wait until it's done though, okay? It bubbles if I shake it, and it still tastes vinegar-like. It's been a week. Okay, then shake it up a little bit more, maybe stir it a little bit more, and then let it sit longer. Yeah, I mean, it'll still have a vinegary taste, but maybe take a spoon of it and a spoon of fresh vinegar and taste that. Maybe eat a cracker or something and then taste that, and you will notice a very clear difference. You should. If not, then it has to sit, and that's okay. Also, the ratio when you make the stuff is 1 to 10. 1 part of eggshells to 10 parts of vinegar. But you can go a bit heavier than that just to make sure that everything's fully saturated. Okay, so that's not a problem. Let me see if there's any questions here. Yeah, now I just used the screen to dry out my seeds like my corn cobs and melon and all my other seeds. Yes, what zone are you in on Popular Truth? Is it what seeds? Yeah. Your thoughts, okay, your thoughts on burying chicken eggs. Your thoughts on burying chicken eggs. Yes, absolutely have done that. A couple of years ago when I had really magnificent tomatoes, in each hole I went down and I dug about a month before I planted. I dug a deep hole, 2 feet deep at least, and put a whole fish and an egg in there and a handful of coffee grounds, and there was something else, I forget. But then I filled it back in, and then a month later came and planted the tomato plant right on top of that. And man, those things went crazy. So that's my experience with it. It definitely works. I used to do stuff like that a lot more when I lived 1 by the sea and 2 had chickens. We used to have all that stuff. So that's why it's all about using what's available. So if you got chicken eggs available, throw them in the hole, definitely. Bury them with the plant, okay? If you don't got chickens, then you have to do these other methods, you know, until the time comes again when I will have chickens, because that's where my life is moving, is to the land again. This is a temporary thing, but it's a really magnificent place, utilizing every inch that I have available to grow food, because that is what it's all about. So it doesn't matter that, oh man, that I used to have a couple of cows and we had a couple goats and we had chickens and there was a stocked pond of fish and all. You know, I can't lament over the loss of what was, because that it's gone. So now you must make do and make the absolute best of the situation that you have, because you're alive and Mother Nature is caring for you all the time. Mother Nature wants you to thrive. And so what you do is you help it help you by planting things and not poisoning things and being a steward of the earth. It's absurd to think that we can own land. Anyways, we are stewards no matter what. The land was here long before you and will be here long after you. So make this time that you have on the land bolstering of its life-giving capabilities, nourishing the fertility of the land instead of depleting it. So, wow, that's dedication at Dave Tiller. Watched you make the JMS. Ground up the potatoes, put in the bucket, put in the leaf mold, took the leaf mold, put it on another bucket with the potatoes. After 36 hours, it began to die off. Wait a second, what is this? Took the leaf mold, put it in another bucket with the potatoes. After 36, it began to die off. Yes, what are you saying here? Yes, there's actually been a lot of questions about the JMS. Nathan, what could you clarify? There's actually been a lot of questions about the JADAM microbial solution as far as, can I store them? Now, this is popular thought because of Korean natural farming. There's methods to store the microorganisms and stuff like that. And in particular, the companies, chemical companies, will make you really think that bottles of microorganisms can just stay for indefinite periods of time and it's the same thing as fresh. But intuitively, we can understand that this cannot be the case. And experientially, we can know this is not the case. Using fresh microbial solution has always yielded the best results. So no, we cannot add molasses to the microbial solution and they'll feed off that. No, not add more potatoes, not add more anything. Thank you, Trish. $5. Happy belated birthday. Hope you had a great one. I did actually. Had a really good one. And we went camping for a couple of days, so that was really nice. Just got back yesterday, so. No, the microbial solution has to be made fresh, and just make it fresh. Just make it. It's so easy to make. I mean, why not? You just make it, leave it right out in the garden, and then, so the day, depending on the temperature, like right now, it's like pretty much blazing hot, and so I just make it one day before, the day before I know I'm going to do the watering thing. Yes, hit the like button, guys. Thank you. Hit the like button and leave a comment. That really helps the algorithm to grow the channel, because it says, hey, people are liking this. So it shows it to more people, okay? Because all the videos that you guys comment more on expand, get the most views, which is great, because people need to know this stuff. So the day before that you are gonna water, make your microbial solution and use it fresh. Use it all up, okay? You can dump it straight on wherever there's no plants at the moment, you can dump it straight on there. So if you want to heal your soil, you can dump it straight on there, all right? Now that leads me into asking, okay, so seawater, I answered that question. And okay, now contaminated soil. That's a question that I'm going to address right now. I love camping. Just had a camping trip in Northern California. Oh man, yeah, Northern California. That is where my heart still is at. Beautiful Humboldt County. So contaminated soil. What do we do if we think that we have gotten contaminated soil? Now, in the last couple of years, the agricultural soil making companies have begun to feel the squeeze, like all companies have right now. So shipping costs are through the roof. You know how heavy soil is and how much it costs just to ship it, how much diesel it takes to ship just a few pallets of soil up mountains, and I mean, an unbelievable amount of resources. So understandably, the costs are going up, but the companies are trying to keep their costs low, so the profits can stay maximized, of course, because the only reason it's there is for a profit, not just to help out your garden. So they are feeling the squeeze, and so now they are going to begin cutting costs anywhere that they can. So if there's a lower ingredient that they can use, they're going to use it. If there's some kind of spray that they can spray on it to make it decompose faster, then they will, which is happening. With the explosion now of compost, of the no-till method where you just lay down cardboard and put the compost on top of that, with the explosion of that kind of farming, now companies are trying to make fertilizer or compost at super fast rates, much faster than compost naturally happens. So they spray these certain things on it. I forget the exact names of the chemicals. They spray these things on it that helps them to decompose a lot faster, but it has adverse effects on the soil life and on the longevity of the soil. And the soil can become, compost can become greatly contaminated with the broadleaf herbicides like Grazon and 2,4-D and things like this that the farmers spray on their hay and all of their other things. Goes right through the digestive tract of the animal and still has its effects when it comes to your garden. But that's a different topic. What to do if I feel like I have contaminated soil? Here's what you do. You balance out the microbial life in the soil. So nature never makes a distinction between good and bad. They are one. They're the same thing. So the mind of man says this is bad and this is good, and so we try to add more of this and subtract more of that instead of looking at it from a holistically balanced perspective. It's the same with nutrition for our body. Okay, if we tried to speed up some kind of process for our body by dumping a bunch of one ingredient into it, then we're going to have adverse effects, such as if we need energy or if we want something to happen in the body, so we take a bunch of just sugar. Now that's going to have adverse effects because it's lopsided, as opposed to if that sugar was consumed with all the other things that came with it. Like beet sugar, for example, if you just ate the whole beet, it would be a completely different experience then extracting the sugar from it and consuming the sugar only. So this is what we're doing in an agricultural sense, and it's creating lopsided, toxic soil. Okay, so the stuff that you get in the bags from the store is not actually soil in its classical definition. It's actually, soil is only sand, silt, and clay with microorganisms. Okay, dirt is sand, silt, and clay. But soil, sand, silt, and clay with microorganisms, bursting with life. All right. Nature Nate. Yeah. Oh man, I used to have people call me that when I was a kid. Definitely. I love that. I used to read Ranger Ricks and stuff like that, magazine. So what you get in the bag is not actually soil. You'll look in there and it's composted forest material, or it is sphagnum peat moss is the vast majority of it. So there's not actually soil in that. So it's not conducive to great plant health. Now, if you think, let me stick to the point and finish this. If you think that you've gotten contaminated soil, then you can treat it with the balanced fertilizer of JADAM microbial solution. That is going to keep everything in check. So you can make batches of the JADAM microbial solution with the leaf mold from the surrounding forest and spray it or drench the contaminated soil with it. Do this a number of times with undiluted. Do this a number of times. Maybe do it twice a week for 4 or 5 weeks, something like this. And that is going to balance out the microorganisms. Okay. I know it seems a little bit, well, I don't know what it seems like, but it works. That's all I know for sure. Okay. So yes, if you have contaminated soil, use the JADAM microbial solution. Now, let me check out some of these. Greetings, everyone. I chopped up potatoes, cabbage, and potato skin. Add water in a bucket for weeks outside in the heat and feed my plants. Yes, that sounds like a good fertilizers. Where do you find the grade B maple syrup? This is a question from my other channel. Yes, I will. Grade B, it's actually called grade A dark robust taste. Okay, so let's see here. Help, please. My 8x4 by 36-inch raised beds have wonderful compost, but I think the little bits of wood are stealing the nitrogen. Any suggestions on how to amend for next year's use? Okay, so you will hear the popular thing that if you have wood or wood chips or something like that, that it's going to rob the nitrogen out of the soil. Now, this is actually a bit of a misconception, because the only place that this is true is at the direct area where the wood contacts the soil. The wood does not pull nitrogen out of the surrounding soil. It is only utilized in the decomposition process of exactly where the wood touches the soil. So long as you are not tilling in a bunch of fresh wood chips into your soil, this is not going to be an issue. Okay, that's why the Back to Eden method garden works really well, because you put a layer, you have the soil underneath, which is what you actually plant into, and then the wood chips on top, which are breaking down and feeding the soil. Only on that fine little line right there are you going to have that as an issue, really. So it's likely that it's other things. It's not the wood robbing the nitrogen from the thing. A lot of people used to say that, but then that's just not actually the case. I won't go any further into it, but what you can do is add high nitrogen. If you're noticing the yellowing of the leaves or the lackluster in the plants, add the fish fertilizer, the urea fertilizer, always the JADAM microbial solution, and all the fertilizers. And that's going to ensure that everything is going to be balanced and available for the plant, like it should be. All right. So let's see here. Let's see. Good to see the world is coming around. Yes, my friend Jeremy. Pam, hello Nate. Lovely to see you again. Lovely to see you again as well, Pam. May not be able to make my own fertilizer this year. Any commercial recommendations? No, sorry. No, I'm not, man. When I lived in Northern California, obviously I was growing. So my whole life was fertilizers and the companies and all of this. And I had all these different experiments going on. I had 6 different greenhouses in a row, and I had a different watering system for each one. So I was just like experimenting and observing and trying so many different things. And I just come to spending thousands on things from the ag companies and finding that most of it is a joke. Most of it's a joke. It's a scam. It's a marketing scam. And that's what led me into understanding and learning and implementing the ancient wisdom. Nature has already made the most balanced form of all of this stuff. Now, okay, that being said, if you can't, I should answer the question. If you cannot make fertilizer, then let's see. I don't know. I mean, it only takes a couple of weeks. But if you can't, then yeah, just get the Alaska liquid fish emulsion. You know, that will do pretty good. Although, like I've explained before, the fish emulsion is a vastly inferior product to what we make on this channel. The JADAM is the best. The hydrolysate is the second best. So it's vastly inferior. It's just basically boiled and ground up fish that is depleted of most of the stuff, but it's still a good fertilizer. So worm castings, you can make a tea. You can go and get a bag of worm castings and soak them in water for 3 or 4 days, and that will help to bolster the microbial life in the soil. But also, I'm going to show how to make some aerated compost teas. Even though I don't use them that much anymore, I used to use them, definitely. And on fruit trees. They're really good for spraying on fruit trees. So I'll make a video on how to make some aerated compost teas, okay? Thank you. Just worry it's too late to start and use fertilizer. It depends. I mean, we still got a number of months before the gardens are done. So don't think that that's over with. Can leaf mold soil be made in a container? Kind of. I kind of explained in the beginning about that. It's best to have contact with the ground. Okay. We tried the lactic bacteria rice recipe. We get the great smell, but no foam on top. No foam on top. Do you mean of the rice water? If there's no foam on top, that's okay. That's okay. You have to wait until it turns. You have to smell the rice water, and then once it smells foul and sour, that's when you have to use it, okay? And the reason that we use the rice water and the lactic acid bacteria thing is because the rice is a very poor source of nutrition for the plant, or for the bacteria. And so using the rice is going to cultivate only the strongest strains of the lactobacilli, so that can survive on very low amounts of food. So that when we add it to the milk, which is a very rich source of nutrition, it's going to just proliferate and go crazy. And so that's actually, I found it's very important to use the rice wash water and not any other method. So now let me see if there's any more of these. Okay, so let me answer another one of the questions then. The fall garden planting. Okay, even though the next video is going to be about planting the fall garden, what I want you guys to know now is that the gardening season is not over, not even close. And contrary to the way that it sounds, the fall garden is planted in the summer. So we're talking about its ripening in the... When can we apply the JMS solution? Every week in the evening, at night, once a week. So even though it's called the fall garden, we plant it in the summertime. So what I am planting, what I'm going to be planting now, is the transplants of the cabbages. So I've got the big drumhead type cabbages that we'll be making sauerkraut out of and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to utilize that because those take between 60 and 90 days. So, but they can take multiple frosts. So the brassicas, things like your New Brunswick cabbage, the New Brunswick cabbage, that's a really big one and it stores really good afterwards. You can keep it in the crisper for like months and it's still good after you harvest it, or even in the basement for a month or so. But those take between 60 and 90 days. So we want to get those going. Now, what the faster ones like the Golden Acre cabbage or the Gloria Weinkusen cabbage, those are faster. They're a bit smaller, but those you also want to plant. So plant a couple of different kinds of cabbages because they can take a frost, no problem, all right? But it's only once it gets below freezing and stays there that they're done, all right? So also for the fall garden, peas, big time peas. Fall peas are the best, but here's the secret, my friends. Fall peas must be dwarf peas. So don't be planting the ones that get 6 feet tall and thinking that you're gonna get a harvest, because the plants will spend so much time building their infrastructure that once they start producing fruit, it will be too cold. So dwarf varieties. You want to look for the peas that say one of the earliest, like early progress number 9. That's one. I'm doing Napa cabbage this week. Absolutely, my friend. I've got a number of different kinds of Napa cabbage out there, and that's all in the kimchi garden. So let me finish the thought that I was saying. Peas, dwarf peas. You want to make sure that you plant them about now, and those are going to be nice and sweet as the temperature gets cooler. Okay, here's the secret, another secret, that as the temperature gets cooler, everything gets sweeter because the plants move sugars into their leaves in order to keep the tissue from freezing. So if there's light frost for a few days or a week or two, then that makes the peas really sweet because the plant moves the sugar into the pea to keep it from freezing, because sugar water will freeze at a lower temperature than water. And the Napa cabbage, that's also part of the fall garden with the daikon radishes, man. Daikon radish. Now remember, regular radishes, 20 to 30 days, and they're ready. Just those little plop, like the French breakfast kind or the little ruby globe ones. But the daikon radish are like this big around and like this big. And so they take 50 to 60 days. So you want to get planting those now. All right. So just check out my video that's coming out and you'll see all about the fall garden planting. Just want you to know, if you've got plants that are not doing all that well, or some that have got diseases and stuff, go ahead and cut your losses and get ready for fall, okay? Go ahead and cut the losses and pull them up, leave the roots, and be planting the fall garden, okay? I'm Jose from Uganda. Hello, Jose. Oh, kimchi, oh yes. Will it help to apply the potato mixture to your beds once you have harvested your crop before freeze up? Absolutely, yes, yes. It's best to apply the potato mixture 5 or 6 times of pure, undiluted in between the plantings. That's really beneficial. So yes, you can do that. Let's see here. I'm doing Napa cabbage. I only just discovered your channel and will be coming into spring soon here in Southern Hemisphere. Really looking forward to putting what I've learned from your channel into practice. That's awesome. I am excited for you, Brad, because you're just coming into the most beautiful time of year. It's all beautiful, actually, of course. I mean, harvest time is really beautiful as well. Ian says, awesome, thank you so much. You are helping us keep our tiny garden beautiful. That is wonderful, my friend. Tiny garden or not, it doesn't matter. It's all a gift of nature. We have to do our part to help the mother to thrive. This is to receive the gift of the mother. It wants to provide something for us. It wants to feed you. It wants to help you thrive. So we must just allow this to happen by planting as many things as we can. Okay, now, one of the biggest shocks that a lot of gardeners get, what do you think it is? What do you think it is? When people think that they're going to grow a garden and they, okay, they have this image in their mind that they're going to grow their food, which is fantastic, okay? But one of the things that you may run into, so I'm telling you this so that you don't feel bad, one of the things you may run into is you may be going, if this is your first or second year gardening, you may be going, whoa, it actually takes a lot more than I thought to feed myself, let alone a family, something like that. So most gardeners have in their idea that have in their mind the idea that they're going to have a little garden bed out there and that they're just going to be homesteading, basically, that they're going to be, eating from their garden year round and stuff. It's not really like that. what it actually takes is a huge amount of produce and work. Not even so much work, actually. Not so much work, but it just takes a lot, because most people, when they think of a garden, they think of kale and spinach and cucumbers and radishes and, what are the other ones? Basically what I call rabbit food. 5 different kinds of lettuces, which all that's great. You gotta be having that. It's all good for the body. I got plenty of that, of course. But you gotta be having the calorie crops, my friends. That's the focus, is the ones that's gonna fill your belly and power your life. The potatoes. Potatoes are huge. Contrary to popular belief, potatoes are massively beneficial and nourishing for the body, so long as you leave the skins on. Potatoes, beans, both fresh green beans, but dried beans primarily, all winter long, eating good calories, good fiber, all the good stuff. Corn, I got a bunch of sweet corn that's all coming in right now. Last night I ate 7 ears of corn out of the garden, just devoured. It was so good. And the fresh sweet corn that you grow yourself is just magnificent. Way different than the stuff you get from the store. So much more substance to it. Do you have help in your garden? Not really, no. I am the help for all kinds of other people and stuff. I like get their gardens going, and I've got a couple different gardens and stuff. I just growing everything everywhere. Anywhere that there's an available inch needs to be growing something. Needs to be growing food, or food either for us or food for the pollinators, which is in a roundabout way, actually a direct way, which is also food for us, because we are here because of the pollinators. Without the pollinators, there is no civilization. I know that seems like a big statement, but it's actually very true. Once you begin to see the interconnectedness of all things, you see that nothing exists on this planet independent from other things. So we hear of collapsing bee populations and we think, oh, well, we just think it's some separate thing out there. Oh, well, the bees are disappearing. That means that we won't get stung during the summertime. Yay. No, my friend, that is not the way it works. The pollinators are disappearing. That is a major, major problem for humanity, okay? Because without them, there's no us. So I could go on and on about that, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see how interconnected, interdependent things are, how could you ever spray a poison onto your lawn or to your house or to all of this? Okay, let me see if there's any more questions in here. Can we use these methods indoors? Thanks for your attention. Now, indoors is different. Come this fall time, I'm going to have a number of different videos about indoor growing. But if you're talking about like house plants, no. The house plants, you can use them, but what ends up happening is they become kind of rancid. They can just smell and they can attract gnats and stuff like that. So for house plants, it is beneficial. I got a number of different recipes. I'll show you guys when the time is right. Okay, can we plant potatoes now in Florida, zone 9B? So Florida never freezes, right? The coolest time, the coolest 120 days would be you want to plant them during the coolest 120 days if you're doing a long variety. So yeah, I mean, if it's now or whenever that is, yes, I would imagine you grow them about now when it gets cool. Yes. So, or if you do a variety like Pontiac Red, which is only like a 70-day, then yeah, it's all about days of harvest. So if you don't have frost to worry about, then do it during the coolest time of the year. Do you have an opinion on sunscreen, Agent Annie? Absolutely. As you can see the Fairchild here. Yes, this Viking blood did not evolve to deal with the sun. That's for sure. Obviously, where I evolved, my bloodline it was overcast a lot because I can definitely handle the cold, but the sun is a different thing. And so when I was a kid, I used to have to slather myself in sunscreen, but then I began to wise up. And I begin to see the chemicals in the sunscreen are carcinogenic. They are causing cancers, okay? So no, I now only when I'm like on the motorcycle, if I have to, I'll put it just on my nose because it's exposed. Other than that, I stay covered up. Never slather on toxic shit on the body, because the number one organ of absorption is the skin. I mean, it's a big organ of absorption. The lungs would be the biggest, I suppose. But anything that you put on the skin gets absorbed into the bloodstream. So all them titanium dioxides and all that stuff, toxic, stay away. Our ancestors never had that. They never needed that. So yes, I've got a deep opinion on that. I could go on and on about that. If I do not live near a forest, okay, Scion of Liberty. If I do not live near a forest, what can be substitute for leaf mold? Please go back to the first 10 minutes of this, I think, where I address this question sort of in depth. How do you get potassium and phosphorus in a bucket? That will be for another time. Hit the like button, absolutely. It's the LED lights and geoengineering that's getting rid of our insects. Absolutely. LED lights, geoengineering, sprays, like I've said in previous things, here you drive out in the country and as far as you can see in every direction is genetically modified industrial agriculture. Little tiny patches of woods, but that's it. No flower, I mean, just nothing, just ecological wasteland, a desert for the insects. Let's see here. Cucumber slices and some apple mint. It is delicious. Glad to see you here. Third year gardener here. Would it be worth trying to ferment rabbit poo? Is it even possible? Well, rabbit is one of the very few. It is like alpaca in the sense that it can be used fresh. There's no need to ferment it really. You can make a tea with it. Let it sit for a couple of days, you know, put in some leaf mold or whatever, and then pour it out. And you can use it straight or just dilute it 1 to 10, something like that. But the rabbit manure is very beneficial, okay? So it can go right onto the plant. So make the tea with it and then spread it around the soil, bury it into the soil and stuff like that. Although you could ferment it, but fermenting manure is much more beneficial for things like chicken manure, okay? I go and clean out one of my friend's chicken stalls sometimes, and I get a whole truck bed full of like fresh chicken manure. And that is too hot. I'll explain hot in some other video. That's too hot for to use fresh. So you ferment it in the barrel and that breaks it all down and that changes it and makes it available. Okay, but rabbit manure, you don't need to. Scion of Liberty, where did you learn all of this knowledge? Oh, my friend, you know, when something is your passion, it's what draws you to it. And so, you know, I traveled the world for 10 years and saw the way villagers live and saw all these different techniques that have been passed down for thousands of years. And the ways that people are used to do things, you know, it just, opened my mind to a lot. And then, you know, I was growing in Northern California for 7 years. And so during that time, it was like I was really passionate about it. And I learned everything I could through books and through talking to the old timers and all of this stuff. Someday I'll tell you guys about that. I'll title it High Stakes Gardening. Okay, I hope you will make a video for indoor plants. Yes, Paul, I will make that one. Great sunscreen podcast on wise traditions. Thank you for your contribution. Thanks, Garth. Sunscreen podcast on wise traditions. So that must be some kind of a YouTube channel. Let's see. Even the sunscreen they say are natural can disrupt hormones, the endocrine system. I burn more and break out in hives when wearing it. Absolutely. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It is a toxin and there is no need. I'm always impressed by your home decor and color scheme. Did you do any of that decorating yourself? That's funny. Thank you, Trish. But basically, I just let the wildness do it. You know, just as many green things as possible, because there is the human being is hardwired to the color of plants and the energy that plants give off. It is soothing to our soul. It is because it is life. When you surround yourself with things that want to be alive and that want that are just energetically alive, it's a wonderful thing. It saturates the atmosphere in positivity and the will to live. It's called life force. Random question. What is the name of that creeper plant you have in your house that grows 12 feet a year? Will most creepers do that as there's ivy growing everywhere here in Ireland? Graham, you're in Ireland. That's right. Well, these are actually, and I'll just take you there so I can show you guys what Graham's talking about. But these are the pothos. And so they evolved to, see? They evolved to under the dense canopy of the forest. And so what that means is that they evolved to seek out the sunlight. And so if a tree falls or something, boom, and the pothos falls onto the ground, it has evolved to seek out the light. And so it will always grow towards the light. And it can also survive on very low amounts of light because it evolved under the canopy, the dense canopy of the jungle. So you put it in a corner opposite from the light source, and it will seek this out. This plant is only 3 years old, and when it first got started, it was only like to right here, to the first rung, and then boom, it grew all the way over there, and now it's reached all the way to the window and is loving life. So that's the answer on that. But yeah, I mean, I've got some secret techniques for growing these mega vines, no doubt. But I don't know if I'm ready to give those up yet. Okay. Okay, that is how big is the pot that it's growing in. The pot that this one is growing in is it's the I forget exactly. It's the big one. It's the big one. It's probably like a 5-gallon. Yeah, it's definitely a 5-gallon pot. No doubt. Look, these fools thought I was neglecting the property when I was just growing a pollinator garden, but apparently they disagree. So they gave me a weed violation, but little do they know, I'm eating all this stuff, so I'm not cutting anything. Let's see here. That's amazing. I'm going to try to do that. I bought a terrarium and it fascinates me. I've added a little of your seed biology and it's really made a difference. That is wonderful. The terrarium, that will be a fun endeavor, my friend. Dave Taylor, NZ, $5. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you for the tip, the contribution. Thank you. That means you're in New Zealand, right? Is that what the NZ stands for? Glad to have you here. Man, you guys are just going into the best time of year. Thank you ever so much. The world needs people like you. Oh, thank you, Paul. Absolutely. I agree that the more that we can find and go to the natural ways, the better. I mean, one way or the other, we're going to have to go back to these ways. So it's like we're living in a very, very unbelievably brief time period during human history. For all the thousands and tens or hundreds of thousands of years, or some say millions, I don't personally know for sure, but a long time, all that time that humans have existed, we existed in small little clans of a couple of dozen. You would go your whole life meeting just a couple of dozen people, and you would have experiences that were of a different pace and down to the earth. And the pace of your life and what you thought your life was, all of this was completely different than what it is now. This fast pace where everything has this idea of progress. Progress is killing us. And so one way or the other, we're going back to the old ways. Whether it's voluntary or whether it's forced upon us because we've poisoned the mother that sustains us, which is, at this point, seems inevitable. In my mind, the point of no return is already in the rear view mirror. So, okay, realize I was watching the live from the start. Oh man, that sounds okay. Raphael, go to your oldest tree, go to your oldest tree in your oldest neighbor or in your neighborhood and dig under the mulch, and it should be there. That's right. I reply to stupid comments. That's the guy's name. I didn't just say that. You can grow pothos in vases of water like that too. When I worked in an office before leaving my career behind to raise my kids, very nice, I worked in a jungle. It was heaven. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Trish, you definitely can grow the pothos in water. However, it's like they can survive in water, but they don't thrive in water. They're not going to do this in water. I mean, I have had a bunch of them in water. You know, I start them in water and get them rooted, and they'll grow. You know, they'll survive indefinitely in water, but they won't do like this. They won't grow 10, 15 feet a year like that. At least my experience has been like that. So, not saying it can't happen, but Scion of Liberty, $5. Thanks, my friend. Thanks for encouraging me to grow my gardening skills. Absolutely, and absolutely. And you know what I feel like it really is? I feel like it is the spirit of the mother, the living organism that is the earth, that is just coming through and is found an avenue to tell the people, guys, this is what we have to do. The human beings, this is what it's the most natural thing that we can do, is to grow the food, to receive the gift from the mother. I was answering questions about seawater from 50 minutes ago. Didn't mean when I switched device, okay. And I run amok, okay. Okay, you guys are having your little side conversations. That's cool, not a problem. Okay, let me look at the thing, see if there's any more questions that I have to answer. And let me see, can you see out here? Can you see today? The window's kind of dirty, I know, but the garden is doing wonderful. I mean, really wonderful, of course. Because healthy soil, Cinnamon 1, good to see you here. Late as usual, well, at least you're here. And okay, types of storage containers. What do I store the ferments in? Okay, if you've made the calcium acetate one, store that in an airtight container. That's what it doesn't need to breathe. Once the reaction is done, store it in an airtight container. You don't want it to evaporate. Pretty much all of them you store in an airtight container. The barrels, like I said in last week's live, the barrels can stay outside all winter. If they freeze, all of that, it doesn't matter, okay? I will put videos on how to prepare them for the winter, but it doesn't matter if they freeze or not, because that's what is in your area. So you just have to make sure that you get the barrels. Now, another question I've been getting from you guys is, where do I get these barrels? I had to search long and hard for these, my friends, because it's very important. These things are awesome. Food grade, 55 gallon, well actually 62 gallon olive barrels. So I have a friend who I found through Facebook Marketplace that works at the olive factory, and they come off the ship from Greece in these containers, and apparently he acquires them in some way, and I get them for very cheap. Okay, if you try to order them online on Amazon, it's like $120 or $140 for the exact same thing, which most of that is because of the shipping. But it's important, you want to get a good airtight lid, because you don't want the stuff to evaporate. Otherwise it will all evaporate. Okay. So glass is really good. The only thing that you don't store is the microbial solution. Okay, we don't store that because we have to use that fresh. Now, I will be showing you guys how to make the ultimate fungicide. Okay, I just made a fresh batch of it. It's called JADAM sulfur. It's a little bit more complicated, but it's the greatest fungicide that there is. Also, it just works to repel all kinds of things. And I'll be showing you guys how to make that. And that you have to store in airtight containers that are a little bit heat resistant, okay? So that storage container, I talked about the biggest shock to the gardeners is realizing how much it takes to actually grow their own food, which can be a shock to most people. So next year then, you will want to focus on the calorie crops, okay? So you can already plan, so look and see what this year has happened, but then next year, potatoes, beans, squash, sweet potatoes, and things like this, okay? I'll be making plenty of videos about that stuff, but now, I wanna address the beds for next year. Now, yes, you can be starting to make the bed area for next year. If you have an area where you think that you're going to grow next year, it is very good. You can begin to lay down wood chips. You can begin to put debris there. But here's a really good method, which I'll be making a video on come fall time. if you have an area where you know that you're going to grow next year, pile up a bunch of sticks, like a brush pile or debris or leaves. And when they get nice and dry, burn them. But put them in the size of the bed that you want, and then burn them. That's going to totally take away all the grass. Excuse me. That's going to take away all the grass and nourish the soil big time. Okay, so that is my recommendation for now, is create a pile and burn it. Will JADAM sulfur fungicide harm beneficial fungi? No, Garth, it does not. In the way that it keeps them in check. It creates an environment to where the pathogenic ones, like the powdery mildew or the anthracnose for the peppers, it creates an environment that they cannot thrive in. So the spores, all of the bacteria and all of that is still present. It's always going to be present. It's not killing them like an herbicide or like an actual chemical fungicide would. It is just suppressing them. It's creating an environment through pH or what acidification where the stuff cannot proliferate. So that's really what's happening. So it's more just about balance. It's keeping everything in check and balance. The only thing, will putting questions in all caps be better for you, Nate? That would be kind of better, actually. That way, when you guys talk to each other, do it in lowercase, but if you ask a question, put it in big case. That would be good. So, just me, what's your question? So then the beds for next year, if you can, do a burn, okay? Come fall time, put up a bunch of leaves. The actual best way, and the way that I'll be showing you guys, burn the leaves in the area of the bed, and then a day or two later, sprinkle winter rye and crimson clover mixture over the top of that. But this is in the fall time, and grow the cover crop so that it's about a foot high over the winter time. That is the ultimate way to start a fresh plot of land for next year's growing, because then in the springtime, that's going to build the soil big time, and we're going to cut that down and yada yada, and I'll show you guys all that stuff. So, okay, my friends, well, it's been fun hanging out, but I'd like to keep these to an hour, and so if you have any more questions about anything, go ahead and put them in the comments. And if somebody wants to timestamp some of these, like when I answer the questions, if anybody watches it, you could timestamp for other people. That would be very helpful, because I want to direct people to these, because there's a lot of questions getting asked now, which is awesome. But a lot of them are repetitive. So if I can like answer them here, like these ones, and then direct people to that, it would be good. So, okay, my friends, I will see you next Saturday at noon. And thank you everybody so much for the contributions. I really do appreciate that. And you can also contribute through the link in the description to the PayPal account or to the YouTube thanks, that little icon. All of that is appreciated, okay? Because that helps, this obviously takes work. And so this helps me to do more of this. Do you have a Patreon account? Not yet, but I am figuring out how to do that. Just me, $10. Thank you, my friend. Inspiring to me. No, I don't yet have a Patreon account, because I'm trying to figure out like I just don't, because I'm not a part of anyone's Patreon. So I'm trying to decide, what do I offer Patreon that I don't offer the other people naturally or something. But I have a little bit more learning to do, but possibly. I would like that, especially as the channel grows. I definitely need to do that, because it's getting to the point now where I can't even respond to all the questions and stuff, which is fantastic. Please check it. Okay. Yeah. So let me know if I started a Patreon, would you guys be about it? Because if you were, I'm sure there's all kinds of things, special extra things that I could do. That would be great, because I could definitely make a lot more content. I just don't want to overdo it, so. All right, guys, thank you, Just Me. Appreciate you as well. Monero, it won't cost you anything. What is Monero? Do I need to look this up? Yes, I am considering to write a book on this, definitely. I'm in the process of writing a book about the 10 years of traveling and then the living in the mountains, all the growing and stuff. But a book specifically on the gardening stuff, yes, I am contemplating that as well. Where's the fungicide recipe? I have a very sick banana tree. The fungicide will be coming. It's JADAM sulfur. So you have to first buy 100% pure elemental sulfur and sodium hydroxide. And, okay, then I have to get off. Well, I guess I don't have to end the live streams all that fast, but you have to get sodium hydroxide, okay, 99% pure. And I'll put links in the description of the video about this. And then you have to get a big bag of pure elemental sulfur, okay? This is sulfur, just pure. And it's a 99% pure. They claim 100, but I don't think anything can be 100% pure. So we'll see. Do Subscribe Star instead, more liberty respecting. See, I don't know about any of these things you guys are talking about. Monero, Subscribe Star. You're a creator. You could offer to do a live session for patrons once a month or offer more one-on-one help to them for a certain contribution level. That's a great idea, actually. That is a great idea. Ooh, yeah, I could definitely do like one-on-one or, you know, this kind of thing for the Patreon. I mean, it's going to have to get to that point, I'm sure, at some point as the channel grows. And that would be cool if you guys are a part of that. Okay, last question. I'm curious about your thoughts on using dry versus liquid fertilizers. Is liquid more fast-acting versus dry being slow-active? Do we use both types? Well, it depends. What kind of dry fertilizers are you talking about? Are you talking about manures? In which case, that is what we call the base fertilizer. And yes, we use both because that gets broken down through microbial action and the soil food web and all of that. The liquid fertilizers also get broken down by the soil food web, but they're different. And so we use both. We use the base fertilizers that are in the soil, but then we add plenty of additional fertilizer. But once the soil becomes to a certain point, it's like you hardly need to use this stuff, actually. I mean, I barely use it. In relation to the first year I started here, where this was just a lawn before that, this was just grass and stuff. Oh man, it was horrible. It wouldn't grow anything. And so I was using this stuff constantly and just, and within 1 year, it healed the soil, okay? And now it's just rich, crumbly black. I wish I could take you guys outside and show you that. Okay, you're talking about manure, bone meal, fish meal, blood meal versus fermentation. Okay, now the thing is, do you make the bone meal? Do you make the fish meal or the blood meal? We have to ask ourselves these things. So the manure, definitely, but all the other things, those are all great to use. And like I said, put them in the soil. Those are going to act in a much slower and different way than the liquid fertilizers are, because we are fermenting them with the water, which greatly speeds up all of this process. And so put all of that into the soil. But if you could only do one or the other, then do it to the soil. If you can only do one or the other, then amend the soil, because the soil is king. Everything comes from the soil. So the plant is just an expression of what is happening in the soil. Okay, my friends, for real this time I gotta go. All right, thank you.